Welcome to The Next Word. I'm your host, Christine Warnke. I'm honored to welcome Mr. Joel Buchwald, the son of the legendary Pulitzer Prize winning columnist and political satirist Art Buchwald. Joel grew up surrounded by the sharp wit, the big personality, and the cultural influence that made his father one of America's most beloved voices in political humor. But beyond the public spotlight, Joel has built a life defined by integrity, compassion, and a deep commitment to family. A former television journalist himself, Joel stepped away from the newsroom to care for both of his parents during their final years, a role he embraced with remarkable strength and grace. In the years since, he has become a thoughtful steward of his father's legacy, offering rare personal insight into the man behind the iconic columns. Whether speaking at national events, sharing stories that illuminate Art Buchwald's creative world, or reflecting on the humorous, extraordinary final chapter, Joel brings a warmth and authenticity that resonate with audiences everywhere. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Joel Buchwald. What a history, Joel.
What an introduction. Thank you.
A lot of viewers don't know you personally, but how was it growing up in the Buchwald household?
It was normal. People don't understand when you grow up in that kind of a household. That's all that you know. So it's actually normal. It isn't until you compare it to other families that you go, oh, this is maybe a little different.
Yep.
But we were a normal family for the most part.
But your father was a foster child, which I did not know.
Yeah, he was.
So tell us his history.
He grew up in New York. He was the youngest of 4 kids. When he was born, his mother was hospitalized, and he never met her. The closest he got to her was when Dad was 79. I drove him up to a cemetery in New York and to her tombstone. And that's actually the closest he ever got to her. But he grew up in New York, and his father was a curtain maker and couldn't make enough money to keep the family, the 4 kids together. So he had 3 older sisters. And so Dad was put into foster homes along with his sisters. And he went in different homes, and that's where he learned the value of humor. And he figured out that humor would give him a way out, and people would give him a pass. And he went to school in New York, and then when World War II started, he ran away from home and told everybody he was going to join the Army. So in case they looked for him, they'd look at the Army, and he instead went to the Marine Corps. And he went down to Paris Island and got a street person to sign the papers because he wasn't old enough, and he was in the Marine Corps and served on an island in the Pacific, loading bombs onto Marine Corps planes. And after the war, he was discharged, and along with thousands of other GIs, he went to college on the GI Bill, and he went to USC. And when he went in line, they said, well, do you like history? And he said, yeah. Okay, so stamped the paper for history. English? Yeah. Went through the line, he was in college, that was it. But 2 years later, they came to him and they said, you don't have a high school diploma. And Dad said, yes, I know. And they said, well, you can't graduate if you don't have a high school diploma. So I said, well, if I don't have a high school diploma, what do I need a college diploma for? And right around that time, the state of New York was having election year, and the incumbent was sending out checks to all the GIs so that they would vote for him. So out of the blue, he got this check for a couple $100, and he said, well, what do I do with it? And everybody said, well, go to Paris. And he went to Paris.
And that's when he got into the journalism.
Yes, he worked on the USC's newspaper and magazine. Right. It's where he met David Wolper, who was turned into a famous Hollywood producer. But he went to Paris and was the stringer for Variety. So whatever events that the stringer didn't want to go, he would give to Dad. Right. And then Dad, this was in 1949, so the Paris Herald Tribune was the English-speaking newspaper over there, and he realized that they didn't have anybody doing restaurant reviews or movie reviews or anything like that. So he went to the Herald Tribune, and I walked in and met with the managing director and said, you don't have anybody doing this. I'm perfect for it. And the guy said, get out of here. If we're going to have someone, we're not going to get a 20-year-old right off the streets to do it. So as he's going out, he heard that the managing editor was about to go on home leave. So Dad went back the next week, and the guy who was sitting in for him, he said, I was talking with the editor last week about writing a column, and the guy said, what a great idea. Dad all of a sudden had a job at the Paris Herald Tribune writing restaurant reviews. And when the guy came back, he looked at him, and Dad was at a desk in the corner, kind of trying to avoid his eyes. And
That's great.
They ended up becoming fast friends. But Dad got the job with the chutzpah, and that was a character of his life.
And then he came back to the United States.
Yeah, so he was in Paris, and that's where he met Mom. That's where he adopted me and my two sisters. And Dad wrote for about 10 years, 14 years actually, for the Paris Herald Tribune in New York, in Paris. And he was kind of getting a little tired. He'd been doing the same thing for a long time. And Kennedy had gotten elected. All of a sudden, Washington and Camelot was becoming the place to be. So he made the move over here, and so Mom, his wife, said, well, look, tell everybody you're only going for a year or two. So if it doesn't work out, you can always come back, and you have a way back.
That's great. Your father was one of the most America's recognizable political, really humorous, and the books that he wrote. How many books he wrote?
Over 30 books.
Over 30 books.
Yeah.
But later in life, he has an amazing story because what happened? He got sick. He had diabetes, correct?
Kidney failure. It was kidneys.
Kidney failure.
Yeah, it wasn't diabetes. It was kidneys. And in his later life, he was going to have to go on dialysis. And he'd seen some good friends of his go on dialysis, and he just didn't want to do it. By this point, he was late 70s and 79 or so. And what was important to him had all been slowly taken away. His column, his fame. He was an A-lister. Everybody wanted him at their dinner table. He had entree to the business world, the political world, Hollywood, all Wall Street. Everybody was interested in him. He was not threatening. He was a non-threatening humorist, and he poked fun at whoever was in power. And when his kidneys started going, he said, okay, I've had a good life, call it quits. I'm not going to do dialysis, so whatever happens, happens. And then he had to get his leg amputated because he had had a stroke a few years before that. And so when they did the amputation for the leg, they put him on dialysis to clean out a system, which stabilizes his kidneys for a little bit. Then they started going down again, and then he went into hospice, and he started a salon in hospice where everybody who was anybody came to visit him.
But then he came out of hospice.
And then we took him out. Well, first we rented a room in hospice because after a while he stopped qualifying for being a patient in hospice because his kidneys had stabilized. So we rented a room for him for a while, and which was really expensive. And then we took him to Martha's Vineyard for vacation. And then his kidneys started going again, and we brought him back home, and he ended up dying at home. A few months later.
But when he left hospice, didn't he say that he went to McDonald's every night?
Yes. Well, no. My wife would go to McDonald's in the morning on the way to work and pick up the ice cream and bring it to him every morning. All sorts of people. When someone's in hospice and you get calls from friends and say, well, what should I bring? Because they don't make a Hallmark card for people in hospice, So I said, well, bring food, send food. So people would send tons of food, and then there was a competition between a guy in Chicago and a guy in Philadelphia, so who had the best cheesecakes. So they were both sending cheesecakes.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it. Well, let me ask, did he ever test jokes on the family just to see what kind of response he would get from you?
Well, what he did was we each had to supply him with one idea for a column each week. Otherwise, we didn't get dinner.
Oh, really?
Not really, but he wrote a column about how we had to pitch into the family industry.
Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, again, what do you think people probably would say about him today that knew him today? I mean, the most recognizable figure in, obviously as a political humorist, but a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they remember the most about Art Buchwald? Because he
wasn't mean.
Figure.
He wasn't mean, and his columns were not vindicative or whatever. And he would poke fun, and he mainly poked fun at their policies, at what they were pushing.
Right.
But it wasn't personal. And so he was able to cross party lines for the most part because it wasn't, he didn't make it personal. Right. He made fun of what they were pushing, and he used to say he couldn't make up half the stuff that people were coming up with. Yeah.
And I know you're working on a documentary with your lovely Tamara.
Yeah.
And part of that will show just his expansive reach into into Hollywood, because then he got into film, didn't he? A little bit.
He didn't come across very well on camera. 60 Minutes originally was going to have him. He was going to be not Don Hewitt, but the Andy Rooney. But so he tried out for it, but he didn't. He was not. The camera likes some people and doesn't like some people, and he just didn't work very well on camera. Right. But he was a newspaper guy, and he was a funny guy, and he loved to tell stories, and people loved listening to him. He was great at speeches. He made a career out of doing speeches.
And he was a Pulitzer Prize winner, but he had many awards beyond just.
Oh well,
the awards went on for
every university. Every university who wanted him for a commencement speaker would give him an honorary degree or some award, so he would do the speech for free.
Oh, I love it.
So we had an attic full of
honorary degrees.
Yes.
In fact, from his original college, did he end up getting his honorary doctorate?
Yes, they gave it to him. I went with him out to USC for it. He gave a speech for it, and also created an award for the funniest journalist person who got a suit. Whoever was going to become a suit, which is a Hollywood term for the guys who ran the studios. But he created an award for whoever would become a suit, and he gave him a suit.
Oh, that's great. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I want to bring you back. But I'm going to bring your wife,
my wife, yes.
Tamara, because she was very much part of the whole caretaking environment with both your parents.
Intricately involved in it, yes.
And involved with your new documentary.
Yes, we're trying to raise money for it, yes.
This was great. No, I thank you, Joel. I mean, what a story.
You're welcome.
And I didn't realize all the story about your father being a foster child and you being adopted. That's a whole other story that I need to bring you back on.
So I'll be glad to come back.
Please, thank you.
Okay.
We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. You're watching The Next Word.
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is him. His real name is Darion, and we call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's affection, attention, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. The craziest thing was believing that your dad knew everything. So as a dad, you felt like you had to know everything. You had to get everything right. It's okay to make mistakes. Just do it from the right place. As long as it's coming from love, then, it kind of starts to work itself out. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job. I'll say my kid's pretty dope.
Welcome back to The Next Word. I'm your host, Christine Warnke, and we have Tamara Buchwald, the daughter-in-law of the internationally known political humorist and Pulitzer Prize winning Washington Post columnist Art Buchwald. Thank you, Tamara, for being here to share all the many stories on your father-in-law.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, he was quite a name in Washington, as we know, and you know, what a life he had, and you had a special relationship with him, I know.
Yes.
Because you all lived together,
yes.
Especially in his later years when he was failing health-wise.
He lived with us for 7 years.
For 7 years.
Yeah, which is a long time.
Right. And in that period...
It's like dog years.
It was dog, right, that's a long time, right.
But it was wonderful and fun. And the thing with Art is you saw whatever you saw is what you got.
What you got.
He was the same at home as he was in public. And that's wonderful.
He was real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that could be, too, from his early years as a foster child, because he had to adapt. You know,
yeah,
he didn't
absolutely.
move from home, to home. In New York, correct?
He originally moved in with us to stay with us only for 6 months. He had a stroke in 2000, and he fully recovered. And we knew he was going to recover.
Right.
But then the 6 months, he liked it, so he stayed.
I love it. He made it
and had no problem with it.
That's great. I love it. And he ended up writing, he was in hospice, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because he had visitors all the time.
He did, but the journey to get to hospice was really interesting.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
So Joel and I rarely left him because he really did not feel comfortable when one of us was not there. But we would take, for my birthday every year, we'd take a little 3 or 4 day trip. And we had come back and his leg was not looking right. So we took him to Georgetown immediately. And they told him he had to have his leg amputated.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, as Joel said, they told him he had to go on dialysis. And he was just like, I'm out. Like we just had a wonderful 80th birthday for him at the French Ambassadors. And we celebrated him and everybody came into town. And he's like, my life's been good. I don't want it to be a struggle. But because he had a history of depression, Joel and I talked about it. And we really wanted to make sure this was a decision that he wasn't making from a depressed mindset. Mm-hmm. So we said, you can make your decision, but you have to give us 6 weeks to make sure it's a legitimate decision. So, the time passed, they amputated his leg, he had gone to rehab, and he was actually in rehab for a few weeks, and he had been doing dialysis the whole time. And so Joel, like everything was going, I was working as a lawyer, and we had 2 little kids, and so Joel, it was a very heavy time. Mm-hmm. So Joel was taking our son, he was just going to go away for maybe 4 or 5 days. And Joel left one morning, and that morning Art called me and said, could you come by? And I usually would go by in the mornings anyway, but I didn't this morning for some because I think I was going to work and we had to juggle all the logistics because my daughter was with us. And I went by and he said to me, he knew Joel was gone. He said to me, I'm checking into hospice today. And so we're doing a tour. And so I was like, I was shocked. So we had done a tour and it was in the same location. It was the Washington home. It's no longer. Sidwell had purchased the property. Right. And we did the tour. And I was crying because they were saying he only has 3 weeks to live. And I had called Joel, and Joel had turned right around and come home. So we checked him into hospice, and time had passed. And I would show up every morning with a yogurt parfait from McDonald's, and I'd go in his room, and he would open his eyes, and he'd be like, am I still here? And I'd be like, you're here. And that just went on, and he ended up being in hospice maybe 4 months.
4 months?
Yeah. After 3 weeks, Medicare doesn't pay for you anymore. Right. So he wanted to stay, so we paid rent.
Oh my God. And you had constant visitors.
Oh, he had fabulous visitors.
So
everybody came. So when he went into hospice, Diane Rehm came and did an interview with him because he became the poster child for the right to choose your own destiny, basically. He chose that he didn't want to go on any longer. And after that, Maria Shriver came, Ethel Kennedy came all the time. He had many, many visitors, Tom Brokaw. And so once Diane Rehm did the interview, all the other networks came. And he started writing a book in hospice.
Yeah, and is this the one that was Too Soon to Say Goodbye?
And
Too
Carly
Soon
Simon,
to Say Goodbye.
Yeah, and Carly Simon wrote a song for him that goes with that book.
Carly Simon?
Yeah, they were very good friends.
Okay.
And so it's a really great song.
No, the song is...
It's Too Soon to Say Goodbye.
It's like Too Soon to Say Goodbye.
Yeah, it was on her album like around that same time.
That same time? Oh my God. What a story.
So it's great. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So he finally moved out. How'd you get him out?
yeah. So months passed. He had all these guests. It became the Salon of Washington. People would drop by on the way home from work. He was getting all this food. And, normally in a hospice, everybody's in the room because they're going to pass. But he had taken over the living room. And we'd go every day. And then after 3.5 months, it was summer. And we usually go to the vineyard for summer. Mm-hmm. So Joel and Art went up to Martha's Vineyard. I went at a different time. And he was on the vineyard that summer. And he had his assistant with him, and he wrote his last book that was on the New York Times bestseller list.
Really?
It was kind of a compilation of his life. Like the majority of his books were his columns, but he did these fabulous autobiographies. The first one was about his years in foster care. It was called Leaving Home.
Wow.
And then there was Always Have Paris, about his years in Paris. And kind of the third one was Too Soon to Say Goodbye.
Oh my God. And he touched upon
his
time in the hospice
and his decisions. But in the last one, he had everybody who was going to speak at his memorial write their obituaries. Write their remarks so he could approve them.
Oh, so he could approve them. Oh, he had a great, amazing humor, which made him so real.
Yeah.
And again, if I asked you what the takeaway, what you remembered of your father-in-law was, obviously his humor and wit, but it was so
he was
real.
An incredibly generous man, almost to a fault sometimes. And he really just, I think that the way he grew up, of course, like the way we all grew up, has an imprint on our lives, but he was just incredibly generous. And it's funny, when he lived with us as a family, I would just kind of look over and see him, and Joel was a very hands-on father, and he would have a baby here and a toddler here hanging on to him, and Art would just be staring at him, because that's all the things that he didn't have.
That he didn't have.
Yeah, his mother was schizophrenic. That's why he never met her.
Oh,
and they were separated after he was born.
Right. And then having to move from, foster home to foster home, you have to adapt, and you have to sort of assimilate.
Yeah.
And you learn really how to work with people.
Absolutely. And
he had that gift.
Yeah, he did. And he found the military to be the first real home he ever had.
Really?
Like, it's very interesting. And the one thing he used to do, he used to always give gifts to everybody. He was very generous that way. And he used to give people watches and clocks.
And what?
And that he was always early. Like, he was annoyingly early.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, because he was
a nice
always
trait.
Yeah, right. It's a wonderful trait, but he was afraid to be left behind.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
What a story. And then he married.
Oh, he married my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law introduced Joel to me.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I was her next door neighbor.
Oh my God, isn't that great?
She was lovely. I used to always say Art was a celebrity and Anne was a star.
Oh, wow.
Because she was a wonderful woman. She was way progressive for her time.
Way progressive.
She moved to Paris alone in 1948.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was really wonderful.
And they both adopted.
Yeah, so they adopted 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't have children. People just assume it was Anne, but it wasn't. It was Art.
Oh, well, he couldn't have. Yeah. Okay.
And he was kind of too. I think she was Irish, and she was the one. She always wanted a family.
Yeah.
And he wasn't so sure, but of course it worked out for him.
It worked out, but and Joel has an amazing background with his biological mother, but that's a whole other.
Yeah. But I often say the best decision Art Buchwald ever made was adopting Joel Buchwald, because he was a phenomenal son. He took care of both his parents.
It really was a true caretaker.
Yeah. He had a big career, and he went to go take care of his mom when she had cancer.
Yeah.
And then then his dad moved in with us.
Which is amazing. So all of this is going to be in your documentary.
It is.
Right?
Yes, and we're very excited about it.
Tell us the vision of this documentary.
So we have a fabulous director named Matt Townauer, and he's in LA, but he's a very experienced documentarian. And it's going to be Art's life, but we have so much material, because I archived his papers for the Library of Congress. Oh, and so we have all Joel has the copyright to everything. So we have videos, we have all of his speeches, and so we have an enormous amount of material, and it's going to be very funny.
That would be great.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you see it, you're working with a director already, right?
We're in the midst of fundraising, though.
You're in the midst of, which we know is
the start of everything.
Let's just start of, yes. What's going to be sort of the, kind of the focus? Is it?
I think that.
What do you want to impart to the viewers once it's?
Well, I just think how he really is the iconic American story. I mean, he
is.
pulled himself up by his bootstraps. He moved to Europe. Art and Ann Buchwald had an incredible life in Europe. It was like there was always celebrities in and out of their lives because he was the go-to guy in Paris. He took Elvis around, Sophia Loren.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, I read that. That's right.
And so I have a little story about this. When I was archiving the papers, I found all these telegrams. And I couldn't figure out how to authenticate them because there was really no names on them. And so I just kind of pulled them and set them aside. And Joel had met a gentleman who told him he was reading a book on Roberto Rossellini. And in the book, it said how Ingrid Bergman
right.
They had a child together, and she had a child out of wedlock with him, and she got so much hate mail that she couldn't bear to look at it. She gave it to Art Buchwald.
Oh my God!
So all these telegrams, isn't that great?
Oh my God!
You know, these telegrams were all from that period.
And because he lived in Paris, did he meet Picasso?
Yes, absolutely. There's a great story about this American GI wrote him and said, you know, I'm in love with this woman, but she won't marry me unless I get her a Picasso. So Art called Picasso and had him sketch him something and send him the sketch to give to her, and she didn't end up marrying him anyway.
Oh, she didn't end up marrying him.
But it was on Antique Roadhouse, like in the last decade. I saw someone selling that Picasso.
Oh my God, is that?
So we have all these stories.
We have many.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And you know, they're such life-enriching stories.
Yeah. His resilience.
For our resilience, and for generations.
Yes.
That's now
problem.
Coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because he really suffered a lot. I mean, he did. He suffered a lot. He was a foster child. He went from home to home without
depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he really
went through a lot. Yeah.
And I really don't know half of it.
Yeah, most people don't, which is what the documentary is too. And I'd like to change it. I mean, I like the documentary to be geared towards educational purposes as well. Because I mean, this
absolutely.
guy,
he's an inspiration.
Absolutely.
You know, he was out, and I know you have photos and all kinds of with celebrities, and you know, but back to the Elvis. Apparently, didn't Elvis meet with him when he was on leave from?
Yes.
When he had like a short leave from Germany during the army.
Yeah, and he took him around.
And he took him around.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and also Robert Redford. Robert Redford always said he went to Paris because of art.
Really?
You know? Yeah.
And what was that? I mean, because of the film, because of his humor?
I think, because he was motivated. I think he used to read his columns or somehow, but I know that's what he told me.
Oh, wow. I'd love to know what he would think today in terms of the political, climate and
we need an Art Buchwald today.
We need an Art Buchwald.
Yeah, because everything's so polarized, but he would absolutely, he was a united factor.
He was a united factor.
Yeah, because everybody read him. You know, didn't matter what side of the aisle you were on. Everybody thought, because he was funny, and it wasn't hurtful.
It wasn't hurtful.
It was, it was
funny.
Episodically funny. Like he would take a certain something and then, write about it.
And even Stephen Colbert, I mean, didn't he mention him? And I mean, I know that there was some.
Yeah, well, also, I'm not sure recently, but I know that he, Art experienced a lot of the stuff that's happening today as well.
Right.
I mean, some of his columns weren't published because of the content.
Right.
And he was actually wiretapped. He didn't know this because he had died when we found out. But he and, I think it was Muhammad Ali, were wiretapped in 1970 by Nixon.
Wow. What a story.
Interesting.
I could talk to you for hours.
Oh,
because, for hours.
There's so much
but
more.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. And
Thank you for having me.
our viewers will appreciate it, yes.
Hey.
And we're going to look forward to the film. We're going to have to bring you back.
Absolutely. We'll be back.
The second episode.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So you've been watching The Next Word. You can reach us by email at info@mmctv.org. Thanks for watching.